Here's something you might not have considered. That Major League Baseball's commissioner wanted a lockout for years, regardless of what the Dodgers did. USC appears to have a new special teams coach, and Clippers owner Steve Ballmer wants a lawsuit in the Kawhi Leonard scandal tossed out. Good morning. I'm James. And this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. So it's January 17th, 2026. Welcome back to Ice Station Bravo here in Michigan, where we are chasing money in the most desperate manner possible, booty deep in snow. And you know, it is a bitter world out here because yesterday, the New York Mets killed baseball. They signed Bo Bichette, jacking their payroll further into the exosphere. Good going, guys. Good going. After spending out the wazoo to add Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Marcus Semien, save some talent for the small market humps over in the Bronx, will ya? By the way, do you like being in the know about LA sports? Well, if you do, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop an update. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. By all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, we have a quick look at the scoreboard. Clippers 121, Toronto 117 in overtime. James Harden scored 31 points. And Anaheim edged the Kings in a shootout 3-2. Meanwhile, today, the Lakers are at Portland at 7. Luka Doncic will not be playing tonight. UCLA basketball is at Ohio State at 10 a.m. Bruins' second leading scorer, Sky Clark, was considered doubtful to play today, according to coach Mick Cronin. And fifth-ranked Purdue is at USC at 3. We do not know if the Trojans' leading scorer, Chad Baker-Mazara, will play. He's been dealing with a neck injury. And as if last night's game wasn't enough, this time the Kings are at Anaheim at 7 o'clock. So what do you say we get to the news? And I wanted to add a little something, because after all, everybody's been at each other's throats, what with the Dodgers poaching the number one free agent, Kyle Tucker, a couple of days ago. If there's one thing that you may have noticed from the online trolls, and I don't even know if sports talk radio exists anymore, but if it does, those mouth breathers as well, they are all begging for a lockout now. Oh, can't stop begging. Please, Rob Manfred, you're our only hope. Just take baseball away from all of us. Take it away. We just can't handle it anymore. End baseball. Now, what these simpletons don't appreciate is, in my opinion, that's what Rob Manfred wanted to do all along. It didn't matter what the Dodgers did. This is just a convenient scapegoat. We have long established on this channel how baseball's commissioner is an insufferable micromanager. He keeps trying to change the game, which doesn't need changing. The pitch clock, which, by the way, a number of people believe has led to an uptick in pitcher injuries. That's Rob Manfred. Limiting mound visits. Rob Manfred. Banning the shift. He's changing rules simply for the sake of changing the rules. Ghost runners on second base in extra innings. Has that made the game that much more compelling? Of course not. Remember his push to add something called a golden at-bat, where you can jerk with the lineup without penalty once a game. Do these sound like great ideas? The guy can't help himself. Any excuse that he can to fundamentally change how baseball is played, he's all in for that. So this goes way beyond the economics of the game. This dude wanted a lockout so he can continue to refashion America's pastime in his mastermind vision. But without a scapegoat, if he forced a lockout, fans would have turned on him. And if the Dodgers weren't the easy scapegoat, the Mets would be the patsy. The Phillies would be the patsy. Somebody would be blamed for Manfred to get his way. And again, not about economics. Yesterday, I mentioned that already being labeled Major League Baseball's villain, it may have been the reason for the Dodgers to say, you know what, to hell with it. If you're going to do your best to shut down the game, we may as well do our best to go and three-peat, because y'all can't take it away from LA. Manfred is cutting off his nose, by the way, to spite his face, because the international market is the financial future of Major League Baseball. Just like it's the financial future in terms of what the NFL is looking at, in terms of what the NBA is looking at. So what does a lockout do? You guessed it. It keeps people all across Asia from watching Major League Baseball. So, well done, haters. You gave the micromanager an excuse. Let me know what you think in the comments thread. Meanwhile, USC's slow walk to sanity in football continues by hiring an actual special teams coordinator. Maybe. Or maybe potentially a new linebacker coach. Reports have circulated that the Trojans may have poached Nebraska's special teams coach Mike Eckler. Now, the signing has not been made official, but the Huskers are acting like the dude is already gone. Last year, Nebraska was terrific at pressure on special teams. They blocked 3 field goal attempts, also blocked 2 punts. Conversely, by the way, well protected. Not a single Nebraska kick was blocked. If you recall, when Lincoln Riley originally arrived at SC, he preferred not to have special teams coaches because you were limited to the number of coaches that you could have on the sideline. And he thought apparently that having a special teams coach on the sideline meant he couldn't have a random position coach that would impact the game more. And the result, obviously, was sketchy special teams play. Now, over time, the Trojans have gotten more accurate in kicking, but their coverage units have been trash. In 2 of their losses this year, they allowed a kickoff return for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown. So, okay, maybe Eckler is coaching the special teams. And then you look at his resume and you realize that he was a linebacker coach. He coached linebackers at USC back in 2013. Were you impressed with Rob Ryan's work as linebacker coach last season? I wasn't. Also with USC, I hesitate to discuss in depth Hassan Longstreet's foray into the transfer portal, because the dude was just a freshman last year, and young adults are naturally impatient. But at first blush, dude took an L. Going to LSU, he's not going to start over Sam Leavitt, formerly of Arizona State. It would be shocking if he did. So that means Longstreet, just like he would have done over at USC, is riding the bench until next year. And by the way, he might get frustrated all over again and go to the portal once more. Shades of Malachi Nelson if you're a USC fan. But if he stays at LSU, you have to ask a different question. Is Lane Kiffin really better with quarterbacks than Lincoln Riley? Here's your answer. No. Look, I'm not saying Kiffin ruins quarterbacks. Let's not go there. I like Jackson Dart. Kiffin did coach Carson Palmer when he was an assistant at USC. So he's not terrible with quarterbacks, but he's never coached a Super Bowl champion quarterback. Riley, on the other hand, has coached multiple Heisman winners, got them all in the first round of the NFL draft, and one of them has won a Super Bowl. Riley, Kiffin. And say what you want about Lincoln Riley, he ain't been left on a tarmac either. Attorneys representing Clippers owner Steve Ballmer want to dismiss a lawsuit that alleges he participated in a fraud by funneling money to star Kawhi Leonard through a now defunct green finance company called Aspiration. The lawyers are calling the allegations sensational and patently false. Not that I'm a lawyer, obviously, but the argument from the plaintiffs goes like this. We wouldn't have dropped money on this virtue signaling stink bomb of a finance company if one of the world's wealthiest men hadn't already dropped millions into it. In other words, Ballmer dropped so much money, we convinced ourselves that Ballmer knows something that we don't. I don't think that's going to fly well. Look, the President of the United States is now heavily involved in crypto. Some of it is named after him, for Pete's sakes. You think I'm going to drop any of my hard-earned cash into that? Sounds like a Ponzi scheme to me. I'm not dropping my retirement into Trump-based crypto. I'd be better off going to whatever horse track is around here. Now, to be clear, even if Ballmer gets out from under this lawsuit, and I could see his point, this is separate from the main issue that you should have if you're a sports fan. Did Ballmer and the Clippers circumvent the salary cap to pay Leonard with a bogus endorsement deal? That's the issue we should concern ourselves with. Meanwhile, some idiot who writes for whatever is left of Sports Illustrated had this poop-riddled take. Clippers' recent success proves Chris Paul's decision was right. Okay, so counting last night, they're 13-7 since cutting Paul. But the reason that they are excelling at this moment, if you call 13-7 excellent, is because Kawhi Leonard, not Chris Paul. Leonard isn't skipping games for load management since November, and he's balling out. So, to the writer, Sem Yobelin, before you put on a nice frilly dressed Sem and start spinning in front of Steve Ballmer like you're Stevie Nicks, please consider this. The Clippers' mistakes far outweigh the decision to cut Paul. There was the mistake, for example, of adding Chris Paul. There was the mistake that the Clippers made in trading away Norman Powell, of signing Bradley Beal. Did you forget that? There was the mistake of creating the oldest roster in NBA history. So let's not kid ourselves. Let's not suggest that all they had to do was get rid of Chris Paul and now all of a sudden they're championship level. Stop it. You cannot take all of those Fs and then earn a C- for cutting a franchise legend and then take that report card home to mom. Rams guard Kevin Dotson is good to go Sunday in Chicago. He tested his ankle in practice. We still don't know enough about the status of tackle Rob Havenstein, but he's missed most of the year anyway, and the Rams have made do. The Chargers interviewed 2 more candidates for their vacant offensive coordinator gig. Brian Callahan would be a kinda sensible candidate. The guy only lasted a year as Tennessee's head coach, of course. Before that, however, he was the offensive play caller for Cincinnati, which was run by former Rams assistant Zach Taylor. Look, here's the deal. The reason that Callahan might be a good idea, the Bolts run a lot of plays out of 11 personnel. And that's exactly what Callahan did when he was with the Bengals. Now, there was another guy who enjoyed a latte and finger sandwiches with Chargers brass. He is current quarterbacks coach Shane Day. But Day has never been an offensive coordinator before. So there you go. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about if you see Rob Manfred using the Dodgers as a scapegoat. And what do you think USC is going to wind up doing should this new coach be signed? Is he a special teamer or linebackers? And if you enjoyed the update, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James, and we'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.